Hey there, it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. We all know what that means. Another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond. What you go through?
Hey, Andy Kahn. So I was in California last week. I was reading, no pun intended, but the Acorn News.
The Acorn News, okay.
You ever read the Acorn News?
No, I can't
And
say that I
this
have.
caught my attention because it's Squirrel of the Month.
What exactly is
Squirrel of the Month? Evidently, every month they choose an Acorn News, no pun intended, I guess. So I'm thinking, you know what? I have a new goal in life, but
to be Squirrel of the Month?
No, not. I want to be for August.
Okay.
August Squirrel of the Month. So we're ordering a costume. You know.
What does it take to be Squirrel of the Month?
You know what? That could be a news story for you. You could go around the park.
No, after you become Squirrel of the Month, you can explain how you reached that goal.
I heard he got a lot of flack for that.
Oh,
because all his other squirrel friends were,
jealous.
Yes, I mean,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So
introduce yourself.
Andy Kahn, soon to be Squirrel of the Month in August.
There you go. Introduce yourself.
I'm Daffy Jack with Prevention Zone.
Tell folks about Prevention Zone.
Prevention Zone is a criminal justice reform nonprofit where we provide resources for exonerees, children with, not children with incarcerated parents, but the Inside Out Dad, which gives us children with incarcerated parents. And then we have a youth group called Young People Gathering. So it's all the children, and we are including the children with incarcerated parents, which is very, very important.
In a lot of ways, you're sort of kind of like a clearinghouse for a lot of nonprofits that kind of come together.
Yes.
When it involves the criminal justice system.
Yes, sir. That's what we are.
One of the things we've noticed here, there's been a lot of recent crime with juveniles.
I did, and I was talking to another colleague of mine yesterday, and we're seeing just more and more young people, not just young people committing crimes. I mean, preteens, teens, and we're talking about violent crimes. We're also seeing an uptick on young children, teens becoming victims of violent crime. So you've been around, I've been around, I've not seen what I'm seeing used to be rare.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
See that. And now it's just becoming more and more 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, and so on and so forth.
Do you think that's just a recent thing? I'm like Andy, I don't really remember years ago hearing about like 10, 12, 13-year-old kids.
Just listening to what is happening, we want to blame it on the rap music, we want to blame it on social media, but again, finding out the root, what is going on with the kids. We didn't see it back then, and I'm probably older than both of you all.
Oh, no.
Just saying. But anyway, we didn't see all of that.
Right.
The kids, we would duke it out in a little fight, and then we were back playing again like nothing. But now, it's a whole new breed of children, I say.
Some of the stuff you mentioned, do you think it does play a part in it? Like there's violent video games and stuff that kids are attracted to that.
Yeah, that GTA, I think my children call it.
Yeah.
That's the one where they get to murder the people and drive fast cars, and it's a lot of combative games that the kids are playing, learning how to shoot straight and everything. So we can say that. We can say what's going on at home. Yeah. Which is where do they sleep at night? What goes on when they leave school?
I know people want to blame parents, and that's I get that.
Right.
But a lot of times parents are either oblivious to what's going on, or you can't control someone 24 hours a day. You don't know if there's, so.
And it's kind of natural, I think, for people to, they take not my child.
Right. Oh, I can't stand when they do that.
Yeah, but you hear that a lot. No. My Billy would never do that.
Oh, no. When my child said, "Mama, the teacher said this and this, that, and other, and that's why I got a P in conduct." Well, what did you do?
Yeah, right.
Why I wasn't doing it? I go up to that school. What was it? she was doing? Okay, give her a P. That's
Yeah.
what she's supposed to do.
Well, when I was a kid, it's like you would not go home and tell your parents you got in trouble at school because you'd be in trouble
Oh,
again.
absolutely.
I mean, my parents wouldn't be like, well, what did the teacher do? They'd be like, well, what did you do?
That's right. That's right.
You know, I mean, they would
That's
not, my parents would not take the teacher's side. It would be like, well, you must have done something
That's
if you
right.
got in trouble.
Yes. And that's what's happening. And like Andy said, we don't want to blame the parents all the time, because you have probably an average home with a mother and a father, and they sending their little John Doe to school thinking John Doe is doing all the good things. And
Right.
come to find out John Doe been cutting class and fixing it where the phone call can't get to the parent, because kids know how to do those kind of things.
Right.
So it's they're being exposed to a lot, and again, just wanting to find out what is going on with them. What are they?
What are you
thinking?
finding? What are you finding out? What are you?
Well, we are finding out that mental health is playing a big part.
Yeah.
Things are going on with the kids in their heads. They are being, peer pressure is always one of the things that's happening.
Yeah.
Come on, you can do this.
Don't you think I think it's harder to be, it would be harder to be a kid now than back in the day when I was a kid.
You see all these beautiful babies being born, and it's like, ooh, they don't know what they're coming into. But our job is to raise them the best way we can, steer them in the right direction, and let them know it's better on this side than on that side. Don't go get in trouble. I remember when my son, no trouble at all, thank God, but he was at school one day and one of his friends said, oh, let's go over to the ice cream shop. And he said, the little boy said, he does it all the time.
Yeah.
And that particular day, my son decided to go get ice cream right across the street from the school, and he got in trouble. And he was devastated. I said, son, you don't go, when you are dropped off at school, you on that campus until the bell rings.
Right.
But he didn't wind up doing detention on a Saturday. And I said, oh, well.
Tough luck.
Yes.
And that's something.
And and you hear about kids stealing cars, but then last week that was just so horrific. That was just terrible.
That one was a doozy. You had two 12-year-olds and 13.
Running from the law.
How are they? They must have been fairly big, because
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, and I don't think I would have been able to physically drive a car.
So when you're watching the news and you see that, what goes through your mind?
I'm just sitting there like, what? And then what? And it's like, what is going on? It just leaves a question mark. And again, like I said before, I would love to go and have a conversation with these babies to see what was going on. Will they say, oh, we just wanted to go have fun? Well, you get in trouble doing that, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so-and-so said I had to do it or else. Could be gang related.
Do you think
initiation? I don't know.
And do you think if part of it is this whole, when you're young and you think, oh, nothing will ever happen to me and I'm invincible, and
no, that's crazy.
Yeah. But you kind of get that attitude when you're young.
It is. And one of the things, and we were talking about this the other day, is, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, or I'm way past my prime on this. It used to be with the gangs and so forth, they recognize that they can easily recruit younger children to go out, and because knowing there's little ramifications for you, even if you're caught.
Yes.
So you groom them basically.
Right. But it doesn't seem like Houston ever had the gang problem like you saw in LA and in Chicago, like in other big cities.
Right. It appears that way, but a lot of times the news don't always get everything.
That's true. Yes.
Seriously, when I was doing my internship at ATF, and the early mornings, when they got ready to do a raid, and here I'm in my suburban house sleeping every night and waking up and life is good. But I had the opportunity to go on a raid with them early in the morning.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, and no news cameras was around, nobody didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I don't think the media catches everything that goes on.
Oh, we can't.
Yeah,
we cannot do it. Yeah.
It's impossible. And so, but I don't know. I just want to ask that question. we need to ask. And that's the reason why we form these groups, to get what the kids are talking about.
Right.
And seeing what's going on out there in society, out in the city, as to what is going on.
Well, one of the big things you've kind of been involved in is trying to keep them out of the
Absolutely.
criminal
Yes.
justice pipeline. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's real big. And as I stated, I started that group with my son, and we allowed them to watch the documentary 13, to see about, how, the average Black person is always getting locked up and everything.
Yeah.
They're always the target, but we keep it, diverse, because our crime doesn't have a color, in my opinion.
That's right.
And so, but what we did with them, we talked to them, we had judges to come, we had attorneys to come and talk to them, and then it was able to allow them to open up and start expressing, my friend at school is asking me to do this, and then because of what we're telling them, you get in trouble for doing stuff, you're not going to be doing that.
Right.
And so they persevered and got through, graduated in 2021. So that's the goal that we want to do, is to catch these kids before they get into the system.
Do you think a percentage of them have also seen their peers become victims of violence?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My son, when they were in middle school, one of their little friends they played lacrosse with, he was leaving the school, it was on a Saturday, and going home, and he was brutally murdered.
Yeah.
They went to school. I remember this little boy so well. They middle school, and someone came and killed that boy.
So you've been involved in the system, because you and I go way back.
Way
so
back.
you were a parole officer for years,
Mm-hmm.
and then what happened after that?
Parole officer, oh my God, I love parole. Count, say however you want. I enjoyed my job.
Yeah.
Because we were helping. And so when the time came, because I wanted to move up the corporate ladder and
Sure.
everything, and everybody was saying, Jack, you can do better than this. And I just didn't want to accept it until that last time, 2017, January, I'll never forget. I went up for supervisor and still didn't get it.
What?
Still didn't get it. And I was so disappointed. I came back to my office after that interview. I felt it. And I called, I said, when can I retire? They said, well, you're going to be 55 in April. I said, send me my papers. So I retired. So when I retired, April 30th, May 2nd, I was in Austin testifying in front of legislation about the sex offender caseload.
Yeah.
And so it started from there. I was working with the kids on and off, but then after somewhat dealing with the system on the other side and seeing what really goes on, that's what brought me to how can we prevent people.
You probably are having a bigger impact doing what you do now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's strange how things work out, isn't
Right,
it?
yeah.
I'm always a firm believer
Yeah.
that decision for you not to get promoted
Right.
led you to where you are
Right now,
today.
talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah, it could be goosebumps
It's-
thinking about it, but yeah, it's been an amazing experience, because I'm always wanting to find a way to help.
Yeah.
How can we change? What is it we need to do to change? And again, with this opportunity coming my way, I appreciate you guys supporting me, Randy and Andy, and this funny story. I wanted to meet this guy, and we was at a focus group. You probably
I remember that. Of all the strain, yes, that was
Right.
correct. We were doing
Right.
this. Yes, you're right. I
Yes.
remember that.
Yes, and I
Yes.
had just thought about,
You're
because
like
I would see you. And so I have a podcast called If Emmett Was Alive Today podcast. And I was thinking of somebody else, and you were on the news. I said, I want to talk to that guy. Why in the dickens? I get in the focus group, and I turned, and when I looked, it was like, I was like, there he is. And of course, I'm brave, and I was like, and of course his face can tell you, don't come talk to me. And
Pretty
so,
He looks a little standoffish, doesn't he?
yes, but I was bold. I said, I'm gonna go talk to him. And look where we're at now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
I think things happen for reasons.
Everything
does.
does.
Truly
Yeah.
does. You just don't know them at the time.
Right.
Right. Right.
The odds of that
Yes.
are astronomical.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a plan that you don't really know
You don't know
what it is, but
Yep.
it just kind of, it happens.
Yep. Because my plan was to be doing what I would have retired now, because I was a school teacher, couldn't pass the certification, not ashamed to say.
Yep.
Got into my law enforcement as I supposed to. I did want to be a cop at first, but that didn't work out. So I wound up being a parole officer. And because of all of that, the things transpired down in my life and everything.
Chandler's trying to figure out your age now because you looked out that you were this amount when you could retire. So I know, look, he's going.
Well, hey, I don't mind
that.
sharing my age
So-
because I'm super proud. What you say your name is Chandler? Chandler, I am 62 years old.
I knew I was older than you.
Oh,
We're
Randy,
all-
what,
I
a couple of months? Come on.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Right.
You probably saw, as a parole officer,
Mhm.
and like, there are people that they're on parole and they they figure out how to have a life and they do good things.
Yes, and I would come in contact because when we went to the academy, we were still going to Beeville. I don't know if you went to Beeville, because I think y'all was just doing a couple of weeks when y'all started.
They didn't even send me anywhere. They just said start.
Okay,
Really?
well, it did change a little bit. So we wound up going to Beeville, and they told us how nasty these people are, and they're gonna be smelly, and just they've committed these crimes. And so when I get back, my first day after the academy, and I called my guy's name to come for his office visit, he was dressed sharp, pressed shirt, nice slacks, had his little information. And I said, he don't look like he'll be smelling. I'm just thinking this in my mind, because in my mind, I'm replaying what they said to expect. And then he walked on in front of me, because there had to be so many feet in front of us. And I said, and he's fine too. So what am I missing here? And it just started from there. In other words, I was already judging before I got there, because I had Lysol in my office and everything. Oh yes, I had babies. I didn't want to take them germs home.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be just a phenomenal. And then I came in contact with people who had been wrongfully convicted.
Yeah. Which that's one of the most disturbing things that can happen in the criminal justice system.
I've always said too, the worst thing that could possibly happen to you, other than losing a family member to homicide, is to be wrongfully sent to prison.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't imagine what that must be like.
Right.
I got to know, and Anthony Graves.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible.
And you look at somebody like him, I think that if that would have been me, I'd been real bitter about it.
Yeah.
But it's like, he's turned the whole thing into this huge positive.
Exactly. And I had a chance to interview him on my podcast, and the same with Christopher Scott. He was wrongfully convicted, capital murder. Well, you had a chance to meet him, Andy.
Yes, I did.
Back in October.
Yeah.
One thing that I tell people that I said, trust me, the victim, most of the families I deal with have lost a loved one, a homicide. I said, trust me, they want to make sure that the person who's actually committed is that
The
person.
one,
They
right,
don't want
yeah.
any, because they're the ones who are now all of a sudden, they get sucker punched too. I've never get a family. It was the Michael Morton case.
Oh, yes.
And I got to know the sister of the victim, and Morton, of course, was wrongfully convicted of murdering his wife.
Oh, wow.
But for 20 years, his sister-in-law believed that Michael Morton
Was the one.
and ended up adopting their son, who actually went to visit his father in prison, believing that he killed his mother.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, I just play that in my mind. And
And
then
you-
all of a sudden to find out none of it was true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that the state compensates them for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But how do you put a dollar amount on like losing 20 or 30 years of your life? You can't, no.
It's impossible. And again, bumping into some of those guys, and it was that one day I remember my guy came in and he said, I said, what did you do? And we just kind of reminiscing and everything. I said, what you say you did? And he said, well, Miss Jack, honestly, I really didn't do it. I said, what do you mean? I said, you went to prison. What do you mean you didn't do it?
Right.
I didn't commit my crime. I said, don't stop lying to me. You know, you had to do something to get convicted, go to prison. And so he said, I stayed in the Harris County Jail for 2-3 years and got tired of waiting. And they brought me a plea bargain.
Oh, yeah.
And so I took it.
I could see where that could happen more often than you think.
Absolutely.
Because, you've been sitting in jail, and then they're saying, hey, just a few more months and the whole thing goes away.
Exactly.
I could see myself admitting to a crime I didn't commit if I thought, well, I'm going to get out of here.
I can see you admitting the crimes.
Yeah.
Period. So,
And then I would come and find you and beat your butt.
You would?
Yes.
I'd be in more trouble with you.
Right? What? You did what? Yeah. No, that's I'm a firm believer. If you didn't commit your crime, you take whatever they say they're gonna give you and you continue to fight.
Yeah.
You continue to fight.
Right.
And just that little conversation with that guy, I was able to find out that Anthony Graves had a program. I did some more research and find out about Innocence Project. Never heard of that. And
that's an incredible group.
Yes, a very incredible group. I'm good friends with Mike Ware for Innocence Project of Texas.
Yeah.
And we had Anna Vasquez to come. She was part of the Salem, Southwest of Salem of Southwest. It was the 4 women who were lesbians.
Right.
Was accused of their crime. And so, but she was our keynote speaker last year. What, you were the MC last year, were you? No, year before last.
Year before last.
Yeah. Okay, year before last. But this time she was able to come in and she was our keynote speaker talking about her story and how she made it.
And you have to be a real strong individual to be able to overcome something like that.
But it's a lifetime trauma.
Yeah, right.
I want to tell you a quick story. You'll appreciate this. I was walking to Spring Branch. I was walking to Kroger's.
Okay.
I can say Kroger's.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Remember that.
It's not Kroger's. It's Kroger.
Kroger.
There's no S. Kroger.
Kroger's for me. I'm from New York. I can say anything else. And I was walking through the parking lot, and all of a sudden I hear this guy yelling, Mr. Khan, and I'm like, oh, correct. You don't know. He's just yelling, and I'm walking. He's walking towards me. And all of a sudden he comes up and he goes, Mr. Khan, he goes, you probably don't remember me. He goes, you were my parole officer, and I just want to thank you.
Oh.
And he gave me his name, and I actually did remember. He goes, I'm John Michael Dillard, and I said, I do remember you. He goes, you were always hard on me. You were always writing me. And he goes, I just want you to know, I see you in the news. And I go, that was my parole officer. He goes, I own my own business.
Wow.
That's great.
And then he gives me a hug, and he goes, I just want to thank you.
Oh, wow.
It blew me away.
I know it did. Oh my God.
And I did remember once he told me his name.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
It was. So
That's
you just,
that
touched my
I'm
heart.
sure you've seen a lot of people turn their lives around.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would, you would hear when I would go in the lobby to call my guys to come in, and I would hear, that's that lady. I said, who talking about me? And so I was known as the lady who was fair, but just don't make them mad.
Yeah.
Because when they would come in and something happened, I'm a whole nother beast.
Yeah.
A whole nother beast. They just say, just don't make them mad. Because I'm fair.
You're right.
You know, and I would tell them I'm 1 foot out of the prison door myself. Mess with my family, defending myself. You just never know when this life or how this life is going to turn. So that's why it's very important. You have to be kind to everyone.
Right.
I always preach that. Be kind to everyone because you just never know
where
your life might be.
Before we leave, I have to
Oh, yes.
Oh,
we
wow.
understand this as a result.
Yes.
This group right here. So for those that think I'm some sort of Darth Vader, how did you get there?
That's a good picture of you.
Handsome picture.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. But thank you again.
It was my pleasure.
That was Photoshop. You don't look that good.
That was all a camera angle.
Good lighting.
But this was quite one of the best honors that
Randy has one too.
Yes, I have one too. Thank you very much for that. And hey, before as we're wrapping it up,
Uh-huh.
is there certain organizations that people, as far as the juvenile
Mm-hmm.
crimes, is there any organizations you can kind of recommend, or what should they do?
Funny you would say. We are now partnering with Reginald Gordon. They call him OG1.
Yeah,
He reached out to me and we honored him this past, well, yeah, you were there. We honored him, and so he has an amazing program. And matter of fact, he's having an event May the 18th. This is weekend.
yeah.
And he's bringing in the victims and then the juveniles who committed the crime.
You got a website or something that
Yes,
Tell
my
us.
website is Prevention Zone Inc. I'm talking
Prevention Zone Inc.
.org.
Prevention Zone Inc. and
.org.
.org. And keep in mind too, the station, we've been doing Fox and Focus this month. It's all been about about juvenile crime. So some of the stories, you go look at them. You'll find different resources and things to help, and it's all on our website.
Yeah.
And tonight's breaking bond.
So tonight we've got another doozy of someone who was on bond, on probation, violated probation numerous times, still out on bond, and you've got one terrified victim, and you'll find out why she's absolutely
Oh, wow.
terrified.
Yeah, and yeah, for good
This
reason.
is all within like 4 months.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So be sure to tune in tonight's Fox 26 News at 9 for Breaking Bond. Thank you so much for watching, and be kind to yourself and everyone else.